All right, welcome everyone. Let's talk about a real game changer for your GEE and NEET exams, semiconductors. We're going to do a quick strategic dive into the core ideas that will help you solve problems and, most importantly, grab those easy marks.
So why are we focusing on this? Well, think of it like your secret weapon. You know, some coaching experts say it best, these small chapters pack a massive punch. The time you spend studying this gives you a way bigger return than a lot of the heavier topics.
And yeah, we're not talking about just 1 or 2 marks here. Getting a good grip on what we're about to cover could seriously net you 8 to 10 marks. That's huge. It's one of the smartest ways to give your score a real boost. So, you ready? Let's get into it.
Okay, first things first. We're cutting right to the chase. The single most important idea, the concept that nearly every single question is built on, it's doping. Seriously, if you can get your head around doping, you're pretty much halfway home.
So what even is doping? Well, think of a pure semiconductor like silicon as a kind of quiet street with not much traffic. Doping is when we intentionally add tiny, specific impurities to it. And why do we do that? To basically open up a new highway on that street. We dramatically increase the number of things that can carry a charge, and that gives us control over the current. It's all about control. Okay, pay close attention here. This table, this is pure gold. It's basically a cheat sheet for, probably half the multiple choice questions they could ask you on this topic. You have N-type, where you add a pentavalent impurity, that's an atom with 5 valence electrons, which donates an extra electron. Then you have P-type, where you add a trivalent impurity with 3 valence electrons, which creates a hole. Seriously, burn this table into your brain. Now, here's a classic trap that a lot of students fall into. You hear N-type with its negative electrons, and P-type with its positive holes, and you think, okay, so one is negatively charged and the other is positively charged. Makes sense, right? Wrong! Both of them are electrically neutral. Remember, we're adding whole, neutral atoms. That phosphorus atom has its protons too. The extra electron is just free to roam, but the crystal as a whole, totally neutral. Do not forget that. All right, so we've got our P-type and our N-type materials. What happens when we actually stick them together? Well, we get the P-N junction. And this is the fundamental building block for pretty much every semiconductor device you're ever going to need to know about. Imagine 2 crowded rooms right next to each other. One's full of electrons, the other's full of holes. The second you open the door between them, what happens? They rush across to the other side. Electrons diffuse one way, holes diffuse the other. But here's the cool part. When they leave behind these charged ions that can't move. This creates a sort of no man's land right at the border, a barrier we call the depletion layer. And this layer actually stops more charges from crossing. So now we've got this barrier. How do we control it? Simple, with a battery. We call this biasing. If you hook it up one way, we call that forward bias. You push the charges towards the junction, making that barrier shrink and letting a ton of current flow. It's like opening a gate. But if you hook the battery up the other way, that's reverse bias, you pull the charges away from the junction, making the barrier even wider. It's like slamming the gate shut. Okay, so we have this electronic one-way gate, right? This PN junction. What can we actually do with it? Well, we build something called a diode, and this is where things get really practical for your exams. You see, the PN junction is the basic building block for a diode. Its number one job? Acting as a rectifier. All that means is it turns AC, the stuff from your wall socket, into DC, the stuff that powers your phone. Super important. But that's not all. You've got Zener diodes that act like bodyguards for your circuits, and then all the cool stuff that interacts with light, like LEDs, photodiodes, and even solar cells, all from that simple PN junction. Now, out of all those devices, let's zoom in on the Zener diode, because questions on this pop up all the time. Its superpower is that it's designed to work in reverse bias, when the gate is shut. It has this really neat trick where it can hold the voltage perfectly steady, even if the current changes. This makes it an amazing voltage regulator, basically protecting a circuit from any nasty voltage spikes. Okay, enough theory. Let's see how this actually looks on an exam paper. We're going to walk through a few actual questions from previous years so you can spot the patterns and know exactly what they're looking for. Here we go. A super common bread and butter question. They're asking how to make a P-type semiconductor using germanium. So what's the first thing you should think? P-type means positive, means we need holes. So how do we create holes? What kind of impurity are we looking for? And boom, the answer is boron. See how this goes right back to that cheat sheet table we looked at? To get a P-type semiconductor, you need to create holes. To do that, you need a trivalent impurity, one with 3 valence electrons. You just scan the options, and boron is the trivalent one. It's a direct recall question if you know that table. All right, let's try another one. This is pretty much the same concept, just flipped around for an N-type semiconductor. Take a second and look at the options. What do we know about N-type? What's the majority carrier? And what kind of dopant do we use to make it?
Yep, it's gotta be B. The logic is simple. The N in N-type stands for negative, so the majority carriers are electrons. And to get those extra electrons, you have to add a dopant that can donate one. That means you need a pentavalent atom, one with 5 valence electrons. It's a perfect match.
Okay, last question. And this one is a little different. It's not about doping, but it tests a really fundamental difference between a regular conductor, like copper, and a semiconductor, like germanium. What happens to their resistance when you cool them way, way down? Think about it for a sec. And here's the answer. They do the complete opposite thing. For a conductor like copper, getting colder is great. The atoms vibrate less, making it a clearer highway for electrons, so resistance goes down. But for a semiconductor like germanium, heat is what gives the electrons the energy to move in the first place. So if you cool it down, you're basically freezing the charge carriers in place, and the resistance goes way up. It's a key difference you have to know.
So there you have it. You see the patterns, right? It all comes back to doping, PN junctions, biasing, and a few key device applications. These are the concepts that show up again and again and again. You know where the marks are hiding. So the only question is, what are you going to review first to lock them in? It's all up to you. Go get them.